Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a big one. Maybe the biggest challenge in college, the textbook. We're going to show you how to stop fighting with it and turn it into your secret weapon for academic success. You know the feeling, right? You've been reading a chapter for like an hour. Your eyes are definitely moving across the page. You get to the bottom and poof, nothing. You remember absolutely nothing. It is so frustrating and it feels like a complete waste of your time. Well, today, that's the exact problem we're going to solve. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dig into why reading textbooks is so tough. Then I'll introduce you to a killer framework that'll change everything. After that, we'll get into some pro-level tools for the tricky details, and we'll wrap up with the big mistakes everyone makes so you can, not make them. Okay, let's dive in. The first step to fixing any problem is really understanding it. So what's the deal? Why does reading a textbook feel so different, so much harder than reading a novel or just scrolling through articles online? And this right here, this is the whole issue in a nutshell. When you read for fun, you're basically floating down a river, just enjoying the ride. It's a passive thing. A textbook, though, that is not a story. It's more like a complex machine, a system of ideas built for one reason, for you to learn it, remember it, and use it. And that means you need a totally different strategy. Okay, so how do we build that new strategy? Well, lucky for us, there's a super powerful, time-tested framework for this very thing. It's a total game changer for turning that passive page turning into active learning. It's called SQ3R. Now, this isn't just some little reading tip. It's a full-on learning system in 5 steps: survey, question, read, recite, and review. This process literally transforms reading from a boring chore into an active, almost investigative process. So let's break down what each of these really means. First up, survey. Seriously, think of it like looking at a map before you start a journey. You wouldn't just start driving into a new city, right? You get the lay of the land. Same thing here. Just 5, maybe 10 minutes skimming the titles, the big headings, looking at pictures. You're basically giving your brain a sneak peek. It builds a mental map so it knows what's coming, and that alone makes a huge difference. Step 2 is where you put on your detective hat. It's simple, but it's brilliant. You take every single heading and just turn it into a question. So if the heading is like, the causes of the French Revolution, your question becomes, okay, so what were the causes? All of a sudden, you're not just reading words anymore. You're on a mission, hunting for answers. All right, now you're finally ready to read, but you're not going in blind. You have your mission. Your job is to find the answers to those questions you just made up. And this is key. This is not about speed reading, it's about understanding. If a part is confusing, stop, reread it. That's part of the mission. Okay, listen up, because this next step, Recite, is probably the most important one of the whole process. I mean it. When you finish a section, close the book, no peeking, and try to summarize the main points out loud, or just scribble them down. The key is doing it in your own words. That act of forcing your brain to pull the information out from scratch, that is literally how you build strong memories. It's where the magic happens. And finally, review. Look, your brain is kind of lazy. If it thinks a piece of info is a one-time thing, it just dumps it to make room. You have to convince it this stuff is important. So a quick review within 24 hours, and then maybe a weekly glance at your notes is like telling your brain, hey, pay attention, we're going to need this later. And that's what shifts info from your shaky short-term memory to solid long-term memory. So think of SQ3R as your foundational power tool. It's the big one. But now, let's add some smaller, more precise tools to your toolkit. These are for when you're dealing with really tricky details or those super dense paragraphs that make your eyes glaze over. Okay, highlighting. We've all seen those textbooks that look like a neon yellow disaster, right? Here's the golden rule. Less is more, for real. If everything is important, then nothing is important. Aim for like 10 to 15% of the page, max. And here's the kicker. You only highlight after you've finished a section and know what's actually important. So instead of just grabbing a highlighter, let's level up your game with a simple coding system, just like this. A star for a key concept, a question mark for something confusing, DEF for a definition. You get the idea. It turns your textbook into an interactive study guide. When you come back to review, it's so much faster to find what you need. So what do you do when you hit one of those paragraphs? You know the ones I mean, a total wall of text. The answer is, don't just try to power through it, and definitely don't skip it. Break it down. Read just one sentence at a time if you have to. Reread it with a specific goal. And hey, there's no shame in looking it up somewhere else.
Check your lecture notes, find a quick video on it, get a different angle.
Okay, this next part is huge because great reading habits don't just exist in a bubble. For this to really work, you gotta plug your reading into your whole study system. It needs to connect to your lectures, your notes, everything. The goal is to create this awesome feedback loop. Think about it. You read the chapter before class. Now you're not lost in the lecture, you're asking smart questions. Then you review it after the lecture, and boom, everything clicks into place. Your reading becomes the central hub that connects everything else. Lectures, discussions, homework. It's a super powerful cycle. All right, to finish up, let's do a quick lightning round of what not to do. These are the most common traps that students fall into. If you know what they are, you can sidestep them completely. Mistake number 1, passive highlighting. It feels productive, but it's not. It's just coloring. It gives you this false sense of, oh yeah, I got this. Remember the rule. Understand it first, then highlight the key idea, sparingly. Number 2, reading without a purpose. Just opening the book and hoping for the best is a recipe for your mind to wander off. You've got to have a mission. That's why that question step from SQ3R is so critical. Always have a goal. Third mistake, ignoring all the visuals. Seriously, don't skip the graphs and charts. The author put them there because they often contain the most important, condensed information in the whole chapter. They're not just decorations, you gotta read them. And the last big one, not taking any notes. Reading without writing anything down, it's like trying to catch water in your hands. It just slips right through. The physical act of writing, summarizing, using your symbols, whatever, is what actually locks the information into your brain. So look, that was a lot of information. But the key is just to start somewhere. You don't have to become an SQ3R master overnight. Just think about it. Out of everything we talked about, what's the one thing, the one new strategy you can try out on your reading tonight? Just pick one and start there.